In December 2013, Gabrielle Union got two pieces of news within weeks of each other. The first was a diamond ring. Dwyane Wade, superstar of the Miami Heat, two-time champion at that point, got down on one knee in front of the home they shared and asked her to marry him. The second piece of news was that Dwyane Wade had a newborn son, not with her, with another woman. A baby conceived earlier that same year, while Gabrielle was in the relationship, during what the two of them would famously describe as a break. And here is the detail that turns this story from regular celebrity mess into something much heavier. At that exact moment in her life, Gabrielle Union was quietly fighting a war inside her own body, trying and failing to carry a child, miscarriage after miscarriage, a battle she would keep secret for years. The man she loved had gotten another woman pregnant by accident in a matter of weeks, while she could not stay pregnant no matter what she did. She married him anyway, 9 months later. And whether that decision was weakness, wisdom, or something in between is a debate that has never stopped. So let's take it from the top, because both of these people walked a long road before they ever collided. Gabrielle Union was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1972 and raised mostly in Pleasanton, California, a black girl in a very white suburb, an experience she has written about at length. She was an athlete, an honor student, headed for UCLA. And at 19, working a summer job at a shoe store, Gabrielle was attacked and raped at gunpoint during a robbery. She has told this story herself, publicly, for decades, because she chose to turn the worst night of her life into advocacy, becoming one of the most visible voices for survivors in Hollywood. She sued the store's parent company for negligence and won a settlement, went back to school, and fell into modeling and acting almost by accident. Through the 90s, she climbed the ladder of teen shows and movies, and in 2000, Bring It On made her famous as Isis, the cheer captain with all the dignity in the film. Bad Boys 2, Deliver Us from Eva, and by her 30s, Gabrielle Union was a fixture, the beautiful best friend, the sharp love interest, working constantly without ever being handed the crown. Her first marriage, to NFL running back Chris Howard in 2001, fell apart within years, and she has been blunt about it since, saying neither of them was ready and both of them did damage. Divorced by 2006, mid-30s, no kids, career solid but stuck. That is where Gabrielle was standing when a young champion from Chicago crossed her path. Dwyane Wade grew up on the south side of Chicago in circumstances he has described in his own book. His mother, Jolinda, battled heroin addiction and spent time incarcerated during his childhood. And Dwyane was raised largely by his father and his older sister, Tragle, who famously walked him to their father's house one day when he was little and simply did not bring him back, a decision that probably saved his life. Basketball was the way out. Marquette University, then the 2003 draft, the same legendary class as LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, with Miami taking Dwyane fifth. By 2006, he was a champion and finals MVP at 24 years old, dragging the Heat back from down 2 games to nothing against Dallas. He had also married his high school sweetheart, Siobhan Funches, in 2002, and they had a son, Zaire, then later a second child. And that marriage collapsed into one of the ugliest divorces in sports history. Filed in 2007, it took over 3 years of lawsuits, dozens of motions, accusations flying in both directions before it was finalized in 2010. Then came the part that made national news. In 2011, a court awarded Dwyane Wade full custody of both children, a decision so rare for a father, let alone a traveling professional athlete, that it became a landmark story. Judges do not do that lightly. Dwyane was also raising his nephew Davion, so by his late 20s, this man was a superstar shooting guard and a full-time single father of 3 boys. Gabrielle and Dwyane met around 2007, hosting a Super Bowl party together, both of their marriages dying at the time, and began dating around 2008 into 2009, The Timing Guaranteed Mess. Chauvin actually sued Gabrielle in 2010, claiming her relationship with Dwyane had caused emotional harm to the children, a case that was thrown out, but it tells you the temperature. Through it all, the relationship deepened. Gabrielle moved into the rhythm of Dwyane's life in Miami, stepmother in practice to 3 boys, while the Heat assembled the super team, LeBron and Bosh arriving in 2010, championships in 2012 and 2013. She was in the building for the titles. This was a real partnership, years deep, which is exactly why what happened in 2013 hit the way it did. In early 2013, Gabrielle and Dwyane separated. A break, they both called it later, a few months where the relationship was off while she filmed and he played. And during that window, Dwyane had a brief involvement with a woman named Metoyer back home. And she got pregnant. The baby, a son named Xavier, was born in November 2013. Dwyane proposed to Gabrielle in December 2013. The news about the baby broke publicly right around the engagement, turning what should have been her happiest headline into a global conversation about whether she had lost her mind. And the jokes were merciless. The word break became a punchline for years, with half the internet quoting a famous sitcom episode and the other half asking a colder question. If it was a real break, why did the world, and reportedly Gabrielle herself, only learn the full picture around the time that child arrived? Now, put yourself inside the part of the story nobody knew yet. In her 2017 book, We're Going to Need More Wine, and even more rawly, in her 2021 book, You Got Anything Stronger, Gabrielle revealed what those years actually were for her. 8 or 9 miscarriages, by her own count, years of IVF cycles, hormones, needles, her body swollen and exhausted, filming television shows with her stomach bruised from injections. She was eventually diagnosed with adenomyosis, a condition of the uterine wall that had been silently sabotaging every pregnancy. And she wrote about the specific private agony of that November, saying that the notice that Dwyane was having a child with someone else came while she was in the middle of fertility treatments, that she felt like her body had failed her in front of the whole world, and that grieving it while cameras watched was one of the hardest things she has ever done. She also wrote that she made a decision most people would not have made, to stay with her eyes open because the man in front of her owned what he did, showed up for every one of his children, including the new baby, and did the work. You do not have to agree with her choice. She has said herself she understands the women who would have walked. But it was a choice made with full information, which is more than most people knew at the time. They married on August 30th, 2014, at a castle-like estate outside Miami, with guests forced to sign confidentiality agreements, and the wedding photos still broke the internet anyway. And then the Wade family story kept unfolding in public, chapter after chapter. In 2016, Dwyane's cousin, Nikia Aldridge, was shot and killed in Chicago, pushing a baby stroller, a tragedy that pulled the family into the national conversation about gun violence. In 2018, after years of failed treatments, Gabrielle and Dwyane welcomed a daughter, Kaavia James Union Wade, born via surrogate on November 7, 2018. Gabrielle wore a hospital gown during the delivery, standing beside the surrogate, and later wrote about the complicated grief of that day, the joy of finally holding her daughter tangled up with mourning, the pregnancies her own body never got to finish. Kaavia, baby shady as the internet crowned her for her legendary side-eye, became one of the most famous toddlers in America. In 2019, Dwyane retired after a farewell season, and in 2020, the family made headlines around the world when their child Zaya, 12 years old at the time, came out as transgender, with Dwyane and Gabrielle standing publicly and completely behind her, while a very loud portion of the sports world lost its composure. Agree or disagree with how public it all was, nobody could call this family anything but united. The later chapters kept adding receipts to both sides of the original debate. In 2023, Dwyane Wade was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he used part of his speech to thank Gabrielle, telling her in front of the world that he knows what she sacrificed and that her grace through the storms saved him. In 2024, the Miami Heat unveiled a statue of him outside the arena. Gabrielle, meanwhile, kept building, producing, writing bestsellers, headlining films, and stirring up a whole separate national argument in 2023 when she mentioned in an interview that she and Dwyane split their household bills 50-50, a comment that had podcasts and group chats at war for months about money, marriage, and what a woman who was famous before her husband owes anybody. Through every controversy, the two of them kept doing the one thing they had done since 2013, answering questions in public together without pretending the scar is not there. Dwyane has called the baby situation his biggest failure as a man. Gabrielle has said forgiving it was a decision she has to keep making, not a switch she flipped once. So the ledger reads like this: a break in early 2013, a baby in November, a ring in December, a wedding in August 2014, 8 or 9 miscarriages that nobody knew about, a daughter by surrogate in 2018, a Hall of Fame thank you in 2023, 11 years of marriage built directly on top of the kind of betrayal that ends most relationships in a week. So here's my question for you. Gabrielle knew everything and married him anyway. So tell me, is that the strongest thing a woman can do or the biggest gamble? And could you have done it? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.